Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hello, Lynda. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much. We don't have the men with us today,
No,
but that's okay. We're good.
we can do this. We don't
They
need
will
no
be
stinking men.
right. Yeah. They will be back with us next week, so we look forward to having them. But how's your week been, Lynda? How you doing?
It's been a challenging week, but it's okay. I'm kind of looking forward to fall. Every time at the end of August, close to the end, I always get that kind of fall feeling. And I actually saw some trees that are starting to change. And that always freaks me out at the end of August, but I always know that it's coming. And fall's my favorite time of the year. So,
Is it? See, I
yeah.
love the summer. I love the summer. I never want it to go into fall. I know I probably should because of the whole Halloween thing but I'm actually okay. I think I belong. I think I'm supposed to live in a very hot area. I keep thinking this. So
Yeah, there's some people that love it. I know my sister loves it too. I'm the sweaters and hot tea and hot coffee with the fireplace kind of lady, but yeah, she likes to sweat. She
yeah,
likes to
yeah.
sweat. I don't like to sweat.
I don't mind, it's actually funny because when we've gone on a few road trips, down to California and stuff, and we're actually hoping to get to Florida in the next month or two. I want to go down to Florida. We're just gonna have to work it in with some sort of break for my son with school and spend a week down in Florida. And I'm so looking forward to it. I'm kind of hoping it might be a little cold here so that I'll even enjoy it more. So
Oh,
that's the
wow.
way, that's the way I look at it, right? I'm always looking forward to the heat. But yeah, so we have a really interesting guest on today. Would you like to introduce her, Lynda? I'm looking forward to seeing her.
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to introduce her. We've been Facebook friends for a while, and I know that she's been in the paranormal field for quite a while. She is the founder of Tri City Ghost Hunters. She has written a couple of books. She's written Haunted Bay City, Michigan, and her latest book is actually Haunted Detroit. And she has been posting some really funky, cool things
Oh,
online. She had a great book signing and a book launch. And I can't wait for everybody to meet her sort of face to face. Well, YouTube face to face. And that's Nicole Beauchamp.
here we go. I'm going to bring her on. Hello, Nicole. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you as well.
We've been looking forward to this. I know Lynda's been really excited about having you on the show, and so have I. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Really, I do.
I've been blown away by all of the posts that you've been posting on your author Facebook page.
Mhm.
The incredible book signing and book launch was really cool. And it was in like this really cool haunted kind of place.
Yeah. Yeah, the two that I had, it was so much fun because um we had them at, I'm so sorry, I got to mute my phone. Apparently I didn't do that. I had them at the Eloise Asylum in Westland, Michigan, and I also had one at the Erebus Haunted Attraction in Pontiac. And they were both just incredible venues, to be honest. Very scenic, lots of different photo opportunities, and you know, just a great time all around. Great for the event. Very fitting.
Tell us about your first book. What is it about?
Mhm. My first book is called Haunted Bay City, Michigan, and basically it's a collection of stories from Bay City, Michigan, and they're all businesses that you can go into. And so basically it just is me, and I went in to these locations and personally toured them, and then I interviewed staff, visitors, owners, you name it. I interviewed them and was able to compile a collection of stories from each of these places. And it's very different when you know when you're doing these interviews firsthand and you're going to the places firsthand rather than just trying to write a book from hearsay, which
Hmm.
is what I find happens quite frequently. So I try to do, all the work that's required to write a really good ghost story and really try to put in some of the obscure facts as well.
That's really cool. So, Nicole, I'm really curious. How did you get started in all of this ghosty stuff? I mean, did you have experiences as a kid, or were you just really interested in learning about ghosts and hauntings and all of that?
Ever since I had come to consciousness as a human being, I had an interest in the paranormal, and there was really no rhyme or reason why. I did have experiences as I began getting older. But if you actually go to my author page, which is it's facebook.com/author, and then my first name, Nicole, Nicole, last name Beauchamp, Beauchamp. If you go to the cover photos and you kind of scroll through, you'll see a drawing that I did when I was about 6 years old. And it's two little girls talking to a ghost. And they say, "Bonjour, ghost." So it's just kind of a look into the mind of me as a child. And, this whole writing thing and putting on these spooky events and everything else that I do that's just a little insight of what was to come, as I got older. So
I did put the links for your author page for Amazon in the chat as well. You guys might just want to, Google her name on Amazon, because sometimes the links in the chat don't work. But I might actually have them in the description box. If I don't, then I'll add them to the description box after the show as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
And
cool.
that way they can just click on the link, and we're going to have the American and the Canadian links as well. So so that was your first book. What was your second book, or what is the second book?
My second book is Haunted Detroit. So it's basically similar to the Bay City one, collection of businesses. Some of them are more accessible to the public than others, especially with the Detroit book. But nonetheless, like I said, collection of businesses where I got to sit down with owners, volunteers, former employees, et cetera, and just compile some really good ghost stories. And the way I try to write my books is that you don't have to be from that area to enjoy them. I write it in such a way that I hope that you can almost visualize being in the position of the person who's having that paranormal experience, and you're kind of going through it with them. So that's the goal when I write. The books, I do put a lot of history in, but I try to not make it boring, because I want it to be enjoyable. I want people to learn things, and I want people to be scared, because some of the stories are pretty scary, but the cool thing about it is that they're all true. So
So this is an interesting question. I've heard from some people, our authors and stuff, that then when they're doing the writing, you listen to the experience and you're doing the writing. Did you ever find that it sort of brought activity into around you or within the home, or did you have any experiences, I guess, maybe not in relation to the book, but because, maybe perhaps your mind or, your thoughts were sort of placed within that, energy, I guess, is the best way to say it.
not exactly. I have heard, though, that since the Bay City book came out, that the carpenter that's haunting Sage Library has kind of backed off a little bit. So his story is being told, which is, obviously something that he wanted. So the haunting has seized up a little bit over there. So nothing personally for me, but as far as the locations, that's what I hear. Some of them are a little bit more peaceful.
Right. They got the acknowledgement and the attention, or even just to be able to tell their story or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, actually. That's kind of nice to know that
Oh,
you
yeah.
contributed to that in some way, for sure. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see when I did that research. I didn't know that this carpenter had such a prominent place in history. And when I kind of uncovered that, I just wanted to be able to get his story out there and give him the credit that he deserved. And now that that's been done, like I said, everything's kind of been a lot more peaceful over at the Sage Branch Library here in Bay City.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm sort of wondering though. I mean, you've written a couple of books.
Mhm.
What's the creepiest story? Like, what story sticks with you the longest? What influenced you the most?
Mhm. Okay. I'm gonna just preface this question by going back to an earlier thing that I stated. So when people read my books, I want them to be scared. And when I say that, I want them to be entertained in some way.
Yes.
However, like I said, all the stories are true. So I'm collecting the scary stories, but I'm also collecting them in a way that, you're obviously going to enjoy them and want to continue reading the book all the way through. But with that being said, the Bay City book doesn't have such an emphasis on horrifying ghost stories. It's more eerie, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Whereas the Detroit book is really, really horrifying. So with that being said, the 2 chapters where I interviewed people and was absolutely terrified out of my mind were the Elmwood Cemetery and the Leland Hotel. The Elmwood Cemetery has a monument there called the Veiled Lady, and this Veiled Lady monument is supposed to be cursed. And it's had a lot of misfortune before it came to the cemetery. And there was one lady whose life, she claims her life was pretty much destroyed by this thing.
Oh, by the
Now,
monument itself. By the monument, you mean? Oh,
by
word.
this entity that's attached to this monument.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, the Leland Hotel, on the other hand, the entire building is like a vortex of negative energy. So much death and destruction and freak accidents and murders and suicides have happened at the Leland Hotel.
Wow.
And it's like it derails people's peace. And so I was able to interview some people that had some, off kilter encounters there. So those are the 2 chapters that I love the most, at least from the Haunted Detroit book. The
Right.
Bay City book, my favorite chapter would probably be the Masonic Temple chapter, and probably the Antique Center, downtown Bay City, just because there's a lot of paranormal activity in the Masonic Temple. Sometimes people see just a torso walking. Well, they see the torso and then the legs, or sometimes they just see the torso like floating by. And then at the Antique Center, they see a Victorian lady who's got a horrifying face.
Wow.
So with that being said, those are probably my favorite 4 chapters from both the books.
Right. And how long have you been with Tri-City Paranormal? So when did you found that, or when did that come to creation?
2009, we founded the team, and we've
Wow.
been active ever since. But this year is the first year that we're actually going to be offering public paranormal investigations. But I haven't put out the advertisement for that yet, so I can't say much more than that.
Got to still keep it under wraps a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how many people do you have on your team?
It's very small. 4 or 5. It's very small.
Okay.
It fluctuates a little bit because sometimes we get help, but it's all family, loved ones.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cool thing. So what kinds of investigations have you done? I mean, do you do like residential stuff? Do you do mostly public places, or like what do you normally do?
We do both, actually.
Oh, cool.
I'm so sorry. I feel the urge to sneeze all of a sudden. I might have to sneeze for a second.
It's all good. It's all good.
Allergies. I don't know. It's not going to happen. Oh my God. I just didn't want anybody to see me sneeze. Okay. Okay. So, sorry. Allergies are killing me for some reason today. So What was the question again? I'm so sorry.
Public or
Yes.
residential
Yes.
investigation? Yeah.
Okay. We have done both. We tend to do more commercial just because even I think in the world of television, everybody's kind of gone more commercial.
Right.
People are less likely to want you into their homes, and it can also be a safety issue at times. So we've definitely gone a little bit more commercial, but you know, if we feel comfortable and kind of know the person, we'll definitely do residential as well.
Right.
That's
And
great.
okay, so we're gonna ask the typical question. What was your most memorable experience, or do you have a couple of them?
Yes, I do. I had a very frightening experience at the Bourbon Orleans Hotel, where I saw a little girl spirit that actually is detailed in my Bay City book at the in the conclusion chapter, obviously because it's not related to Bay City. But I talk about it in detail in there. Um, and then I had a really cool experience at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. It's in Weston, West Virginia.
Right.
And I was walking down the geriatrics ward, and I was with one other female investigator. It was just the two of us. And as we were walking down the ward, we heard, as soon as I said, "Is there anybody here with us?" It sounded like 100 stretchers and med carts were like coming at us. You could hear the old wheels. It was deafeningly loud. I mean, it was like overbearingly loud. And as soon as I turned my flashlight on, it stopped. But yet I was recording audio. So on the audio, you still hear it. You
No.
can still hear the squeaking of the wheels and all that.
Wow.
And then I guess I'll just throw in number 3, just because that's in the number 3 experiences detailed in my Haunted Detroit book. But I captured a full-blown shadow figure, looks like a Civil War soldier at historic Fort Wayne in Detroit. And as soon as I took the picture and I saw it, I ran out to try to see what, if it was a person standing out there facing me, and it was not. There's nobody there. So the photo is in the new book. The whole detailed experience is in there as well. And but yes, I've had a couple more, but those probably are my top 3.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you actually heard like all of that and got it on a recorder at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. That's pretty phenomenal.
You can actually find it if you go to this YouTube channel that I made back in the day. I say back in the day because I haven't touched it in a while. But it's, if you type in youtube.com/TCGHS, that's the abbreviation for my team name. You should be able to pull up that audio clip. So you might want to put headphones on when you listen to it because it can be kind of quiet. But I think it's just this like wheels, disembodied sound, or it's listed as something like that. So if you can't find it, just go ahead and type in the search bar TCGHS, wheels, EVP, or whatever, and it should come right up. I know it's not really an EVP, but
that's very cool. So, Nicole, do you have a theory at all, maybe, on sort of what hauntings truly are, or like what this is all about? Because we've interviewed some people who've said, well, we think that ghosts are in a parallel universe to ours, or we think that ghosts are, really nothing. They're just sort of memories that are imprinted on some sort of etheric plane. Do you have some kind of a theory as to what all of this stuff is?
For me personally, my belief is that it would be maybe some sort of unfinished business, or if somebody was killed tragically, then they didn't really get closure. They didn't get a chance to really say goodbye or, you know, finish their life out the way the way that it should have been finished out. So,
Right.
in my opinion, that's what I think it is. I know I felt that way when I've been down and out. Just, you know, if I was to die tomorrow or something, like how I would feel miserable. Like I would need to come back and, you know, like fulfill some goals or something. So
Right.
that's always kind of been what I thought it was. Other than that, I'm not really sure. Um, you know, it is a mystery, and there's a lot of different theories on it. But I guess we won't really know until, you know,
Yeah.
we die. If we die and somehow get resuscitated, you know, then, you know, maybe we'll have an explanation. But I'm hoping that won't happen anytime soon to any of us.
What got you started in developing the team? Like, what was the motivation behind it? Because when you think back, you know, 2009, you know, the paranormal, especially, I think the shows were, you know, the paranormal shows were just starting. There
Mhm.
was, you know, every time I hear teams that are before, you know, maybe 2015 and stuff, you know, like there was an actual interest in the paranormal because there really
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of commercialized ghost attention up until that time. I think maybe Ghost Hunters was on the air at that point, maybe Haunted Canada. There was a couple of UK shows that were out, but it wasn't a mainstream thing at this point. So, you know, when you're starting an early team, like I know our team, I believe started about 2009, 2010 as well, around that timeline.
Yeah.
But you know, what brought you into starting it? What brought you into developing all of this?
Um, I guess, you know, I used to watch that show Most Haunted all the time. Do you guys remember that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I watched that a lot when I was pretty young. And then I saw Ghost Hunters. And it wasn't really until I saw those shows because, like I said, I always had an interest. I was like always just into everything paranormal or scary or, you know, Halloween, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was when I saw those shows and I saw those people doing, you know, what they were doing, which was talking to the spirits and connecting with the spirits. Then I thought to myself, oh my God, like people that can actually do that and make a living doing that. And that, I guess, has always been my dream job, is to work in the paranormal industry and have some kind of a job where I can do a similar thing. And for me, it's never been about fame or money or anything like that. It's always just been about my love and my passion for all things paranormal.
Right. Right.
And so, with that being said, I guess that was really the motivator because I wanted to get into some of these cool locations, like some of the asylums. And, you know, I just didn't think you could do it really without a team, especially the size of them. You know, they're all pretty big. So,
Yeah.
you know, starting up that team really was helpful in allowing me to get into some of these more sought after places.
Right.
That's cool. Where else have you been?
Oh, jeez. Waverly Hills.
Waverly Hills would be cool. I've never. I heard. What did you find? Did you like it? Was it creepy? Was it as much as they say it was? I mean, we've heard Waverly Hills quite a few times, you know, on different shows, and I think the Taps team has gone there quite a few times, like, or at least once as a team or something like that. I'm not sure, like for their family, their get-togethers stuff.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It was really cool. I played ball with a little boy spirit. There was a sloping hallway, and I threw the ball down the hallway, and it came basically uphill at me.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and then the ball was like going like this, like in a circle, and then it would move all over the place. But I enjoyed it a lot. My only issue with Waverly Hills was that there were no um, windows on the building. So wind, obviously, that was something that we were thinking was, the wind is causing maybe this ball to roll. But I based on where we were in the building at the time, because we weren't by any windows when I had my experience, so I don't think it was the wind. But in other parts of the building, I would be reluctant to, I guess, use those kinds of devices where it's like, okay, if there's something here, try to move it, because wind
Right.
create that
Right.
issue. So
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, I haven't gone back. And a big reason I haven't gone back is because they literally have spiders like there. And
Oh, God.
I can't handle all that. Like, I know I like scary things, but I'm just like Steve from Ghost Hunters when it comes to the spiders. I cannot do it. So I haven't been back there. That's why.
We're sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Where else have you been besides Waverly Hills?
Oh, geez. Well, I went to the Paris catacombs recently.
Okay.
I didn't investigate really there, but I mean, we were just kind of trying to have a, personal experience. I've been to Windsor Castle, which is thought to be really haunted. I've been to the Tower of London, which is thought to be really haunted. I've been to Sedumsville Rectory. We've been to the Lizzie Borden House.
Oh, okay.
Many different places in New Orleans.
Ooh.
Salem. So I've been around the paranormal block, so to speak.
So did you have any experiences when you went in there into any of those?
Yes, I felt, I would say, oh, you know what? There's a place I didn't mention that I did have a really cool experience. So we went to Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I was staying at the Titanic Hotel, and I was going to the bathroom, and there's like a hallway, and then at the far end of the hallway there's an office. And so I was walking to the bathroom, which was to the left of me, and as I was doing that, I thought I saw somebody walking, a man in a suit walking from the table, which was in the middle of the room, um, you know, to the other side. So I was just trying to make sure my eyes weren't like playing tricks on me. And I walked into that room, and it was really weird because on the right side there was just a wall and a fireplace,
Right.
and on the left side there was a door. So he must have walked right through the wall.
Oh.
Ooh.
And this same figure, I'm guessing, was seen upstairs in our hotel hallway as well. So same kind of thing with a dark, kind of shadowy figure with a suit on, and kind of looked like an employee, but was not.
Right. Wow.
That's very cool. So, okay, here's a question for you, because a lot of people who are on a paranormal team or who have been in the paranormal field for quite some time, even if they don't start out believing that they're empathic or they're intuitive in some way, often develop that kind of thing. So they often develop that intuition, or they often develop that sort of, gut instinct about things. Do you feel that way? Or have you ever been intuitive, or have you started out being an intuitive, or are you? I know it's a complicated, convoluted question I'm asking, but
So I consider myself to be an intuitive empath.
right.
I wouldn't say that I am psychic by any means, but I get these kind of like premonitions, and I have these and maybe it's because I'm really good at reading body language. I'm really observant as a person. But I kind of get a feeling about things like how they're going to happen before they do. And I hate to say this because it makes me maybe sound conceited, but generally I'm right. Um, and so I've been through a lot of things in my life, really, some really horrible things. And so I try to help people. I try, and I don't try to charge a lot or anything like that. Sometimes I don't charge at all, but I try to help people. I try to give people a message or how I'm feeling, just to protect them. Like I saw a young girl the other day and I just felt compelled to tell her because she was so pretty and dressed up wearing this gorgeous dress. And you could just tell she was so young. I don't even think she was 18. And I just was like, I, I don't want you to get hurt by a guy. So I think it would be in your best interest to focus on your dreams and your goals in school and take care of yourself before you worry about any kind of a relationship. And then she told me shortly thereafter that her ex-boyfriend had pretty much abused her.
Oh,
And so I don't know, if that was just coincidental or whatever, but I really want to help other people, and if this is a way that I can do it, I want to.
I
Because
think
I
a lot
am
of
a
people.
person.
Sorry, I was just going to say. I think a lot of people tend to, put incidents like that into a matter of coincidence. But I truly feel that we're drawn to those
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and there's some sort of heart link that we have that connection with,
Yeah.
and where we just feel at that moment that we have to deliver some sort of message. And it's going to be up to the people whether they're open to receive it or not. But I truly believe that even if it's for a matter of seconds or minutes, that we all have that capability. And it's like a matter of, I guess the best way to call it is earth angels, to some degree. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when my son was young, I would have strangers that would be on the other side of the mall, and I'd have him in his stroller or whatever, or, little thing, and he'd be toddling along. And I would see people walk from one end of the mall, like on the other side of the mall, crisscross all the way over to come, and they would be like, your son is very special. Or they would have some other, or you've got to make sure that he does this as he grows older. It was like random stuff. And
Yeah.
normally, as a parent, you might be kind of like, what the hell is going on? But as a psychic medium, intuitive, I knew that those were just messages. And it was almost as though the people would be kind of like, what the hell just happened? Like kind of a look on their face, like, did I actually just say this, or did this just, or I felt, or someone would even say, I just felt compelled to tell you this. And then they would walk away. And I fully
Right.
believe that, us as people, that we have, that we're guided, in some form by spirit to deliver particular messages.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. Sometimes you just feel like totally compelled to tell somebody something, and you just have to get it out. And that happens to me all the time. And I mean, sometimes people listen to me. Oftentimes I feel like they don't. And then, it's happened a lot in friend groups where, it's, I'll give the advice, and then it's like 3 days later. Yeah. He broke my heart. I'm like, I told you. I told you, just, as, from an, as, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I'm trying to say that as an outsider looking in, we know probably best because we're non-biased.
Right.
So just letting you know, anybody out there, if I'm talking to you, it's because I'm trying to help you and try to prevent you from going through something horrible.
I think the thing that I really love most about spirit and some of the messages that come through is because they are truly coming from spirit. It is that draw to, again, it's that heart energy towards somebody. And spirit doesn't look at race or culture or religion or gender or sexuality or anything. Spirit doesn't care. Spirit doesn't care. And spirit is literally just coming from the heart and saying, look, this is for your soul. This is for your soul. This is the message for your soul. It doesn't care about any of the external things that we want to place labels on, or any of those, the nonsense that we as humans take to be so like that. We have to have this and we have to have that and we have to be called this and we have to be called that. Spirit just goes, this is the message from us to your soul. And again, it's going to be up to the individual whether or not that they accept that, or whether or not they feel like they need to close down to it, right? But spirit is pure. It doesn't come with a motivation or an intention or an agenda or a narrative, right? So it sounds like what you did for that girl, she probably really needed to hear that, because being in that place of being broken to some degree, especially being so young, and being so pretty and just having that energy where she's got her whole life ahead of her, to be stuck by that one person who, is essentially, breaking her spirit.
Well, and I went through that too very young. I pretty much moved from my parents' house into a home with a person who was not very nice to me. I'm not going to say any names here. But, and then from there it just escalated into, a worse situation, to the point where it was terrible, ungodly bad. And so, I feel that it is my responsibility just as a human being. Now I'm 33 years old. I do have some regrets, but I have now learned from them, and I'm trying at this point to, cross all those things off my bucket list and prioritize my interests and, myself and all the things that I've wanted to do since I've been young. And so I feel like it's my time to help other people now that I have, heeded the warning and learned from my mistakes and all of that kind of thing. And so I just want to share, my knowledge with other people and my experience with other people, in the hopes that I can help them, and, in whatever form that may be. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it sounds like even with just the books alone, and you're probably going to be writing a few more. I'm assuming you've got a couple more in the do you?
I writing a book is such a difficult process, but I really want to keep writing, because actually in the last book I wrote, in the acknowledgments, I have a little inspirational message for people. And, I tell people, like, don't let people tell you cannot do things, because that's a lie. And you can honestly do anything that you set your mind to. And people are held back by so many things, by fear, by other people, by love, by hate. It's just, the list goes on and on. And we have to just start living, because life is so short, and enjoy the moment. And, these books show us, as you go through and you read them, and you're noticing all this tragedy and heartbreak and, just all this destruction. And you say to yourself, I'm alive right now, and I don't know when is going to be my final moments. And I want to be able to do everything that I aspire to do in my life. And I want to tick off everything on my bucket list. And I want to try, the weird foods. And I want to, see what happens when I maybe send a text that I'm scared to send, and just take those risks within reason, and, just enjoy life, because that's what really it's what it's about. It's being in love with the paranormal doesn't necessarily mean you're in love with death. It means you're in love with the idea of living and enjoying your life until death. And then, and then after that, you're in love with the idea of possibly, a life after death. So to me, that's what I think when I think of the paranormal. I think it's kind of like a life after death, kind of like the Dia de los Muertos, how they believe that when you die,
Mhm.
it's not the end. It just continues, but in a different realm.
Right.
I
Right.
agree with that. I agree. And, first of all, I mean, congratulations on the books, because being an author has got to be tough. You've got tons of proofreading, and you've got to I mean, it's tough. You've got to be disciplined, and you've got to do all of these interviews with all of these people and sit down and find the time to do it. And I know you're a busy person, so kudos to you.
Oh,
But
thank you.
you're welcome. But honestly, okay, so Kathy asked you, is there another book in there? And if there is, I'm
Uh-huh.
curious to know, what would you want to write about? I know you just went to Europe,
Mhm.
and I know you loved England, and I'm dying to go to England. But, is that something you want to write about? Or what would you want to do for another book?
That's a really good question. So when I was just at Michigan Paracon, and so many people came up to my table and they said, "Are you from Detroit?" And I said, "No." And the reason I'm telling you this is because I enjoy writing about places that I personally love. And I'm from Bay City, and I love Detroit, and I would absolutely love to write a book about haunted England, haunted UK, something involving that. The issue I foresee in doing a book like that would be with my publisher, because you have to be within somewhat close proximity to the location to write about it. But
Right.
I'm trying to see if there's a way maybe I can team up with another person that is from there and co-write a book with that person, because it's not like I've never been there.
Yeah.
I was just there pretty much for the month of July, so I mean, I plan on going back and doing more research into more haunted locations. And so, with that all being said, I would love to be able to do that. But as far as another location, I am just unsure at the moment here in the States. Um, I've kind of had some ideas, but the idea that I had, I was like, I don't know. So I got to think more about it. But I hope eventually I will write more books.
Right.
I hope so. I hope so. Because I mean, it's quite a process, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot about yourself in the interim. I mean, throughout the whole process, it's got to be I don't know. I can't even imagine. Often I think about writing a book. I don't know if you do, Kathy, because of all the experiences that
Mhm.
I've had doing this for all these years, and something stops me. I don't know what it is. It's fear, right? But I don't know. It must be such a grueling process. I mean, especially interviewing people. And I know you've had to do that, but
Mhm.
have you had issues where people just don't want to talk to you about what's going on?
That's a good question.
Oh yeah. Of of course I have. I've had some horrible experiences, but what I will say to you and your fear, I guess, of wanting to write the book, and I will not lie to you, it is so mentally challenging. I mean,
Mhm.
I do this with every book. I'll be like 10,000 words in, and I'll say, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself?" Then I'll get 15,000 words in, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I got so many more to go." And then by the time I'll be like 1,000 words away from my word count, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I'm going to give up. I'm just at my breaking point." And then, but every time it seems like the 30 to 40,000 range of words is about my limit that I can handle mentally. Cause I think if I was to write a book as big as like Stephen King's It, I'd probably jump off a cliff or something. But I mean, I don't know how he did it. I mean,
Oh,
he must have been in the military. I don't know if he was, but he must have like a mind of steel. But yes, it's a very, very grueling process. There's so much that goes into it, from the research and the editing. It's like when you're going through the book, you're not just editing the typos, you're making sure the organization names and people's names are spelled right. You're checking page numbers to make sure those are okay. You're checking captions to make sure they line up with the photos. You're checking um you know just every single thing, everything. And so when you get a negative review, especially well, I write history paranormal books, so I do so much research and put so much time into it, and it's like 5-6 months of my life plus 13 years of research compiled that I've spent to write this book. And then you get somebody who will leave a 1 star on Amazon and they'll say like, oh, the books suck, there was just history in it. And I don't think so. But it's like, why don't you just appreciate some of that history? Maybe you could learn something from it at the very least. Like, even if you don't think it's entertaining, I mean, it's the history's in there for a reason. So
it is sad, actually, that people have that ability, or they don't take the time and recognize. It's sort of, it's like with art, people, they're like, oh, can you sell this for, they'll throw some half price or quarter price offer, for your work, and they don't recognize the time, the product, the the creativity, the thought process, all of that goes into it. No matter whatever creative field that somebody's in, people don't sometimes consider it. They just sit there and they're like, oh, here's $5, or here's this, or a negative review, or and it's so easy apparently to just toss that around without giving some sort of even thought to the comment itself. Maybe they didn't enjoy the book because of the history, but even writing it in a different way could have at least been considerate.
Well, somebody wrote me, I think it was with the first book, but they wrote me on Marketplace on Facebook, and I was selling the book for $20 at the time because I was under I had the price too low on it, and that was a stupid thing on my part. But somebody basically asked me if I would take 10, and I'm like,
oh my God,
come on. Like, first of all, I'm buying the books for so much money from the publisher. So if I don't sell them for a certain price, I'm barely getting any money, and I have to pay the publisher still for the books that I do sell. So I'm still taking that money that I'm earning, and it's still being split in half. They get the bulk of my money on pretty much everything. So, it's like I'm trying to make a living here. This is another job that I have. I'm a massage therapist part-time, and then I sell my books part-time, and this is my job. I have to be able to pay my bills. So I just hope that people can, at the very least, just respect that.
Well, it's your passion too. I mean, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. And the paranormal is definitely something that we're all passionate about. And that's worth something. I mean, it truly is worth something. And well, I was also going to ask you, you just went to the Michigan Paracon. Did you meet anybody cool? Like, did you meet anybody that you absolutely, was on your bucket list to meet?
I did. Let me tell you about them. So, Rochelle Stratton and Brian, his last name is escaping me right now. That's terrible.
That's okay.
Rochelle and Brian from the newest installment of Ghost Hunters.
Wow.
I loved them. I think his last name is Murphy. I'm pretty sure it's Murphy, but I love them so much. They were so sweet.
Aww.
No, I apologize. I got like maybe 3 hours of sleep last night and the night before. So my brain is not firing the way it should be. So my apologies on forgetting the name. I love you, Brian. But they were just so down to earth. And I felt like I was just talking to long lost friends when I met them.
Aw.
Nice.
And I love that because, we're all in this industry. And even though they've been on a TV show and they're doing what they do, which is amazing work, I feel like, even if you didn't have a book come out and you're just somebody who loves the paranormal, I mean, we're all people, we're all the same. So while what they do is highly respectable, it's cool to meet people that don't have an air about them. And the other person I would say that I really loved meeting was Bridget Marquardt. She was on that show, Girls Next Door. She was, Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, and she runs a paranormal podcast.
Wow.
She had me on her podcast with the first book, which was really cool. But she was the most down to earth person too. And when she came up to my booth, I recognized her and I was like, Bridget. And I came around the table to give her a hug and let her know, how thankful I was that she had me on her podcast. And she turns to her mother who was with her and she says, Mom, this is Nicole. Like we were friends our whole lives. And then she asked her mother if she would take a photo of the two of us.
Oh,
and
nice.
I have never had any kind of famous person, at least not that famous, ever asked to take a photo with me. So she knows how to make a girl feel good. That's for sure.
Well, that's great.
So I have a lot of respect for Rochelle, Brian, and Bridget.
That's so cool.
Was this your first year at the Paracon, I should say?
It was not. I've been going since 2012. Oh, one more shout out. I'm so sorry. Satori Hawes, Jason Hawes' daughter, and her boyfriend Cody are also very amazing. I love them. They were very sweet. And also something cool that happened, I forgot to mention, was that when I got up to sing karaoke, Jason Hawes turned to my friend and tapped her and said, "Oh my God, she's a really good singer."
Oh,
how cool is that?
The Simon Cowell of the paranormal. So the fact he gave me a stamp of approval really meant a lot to me.
Are you part of? Is Tri-City Paranormal? Are you guys part of the Taps family?
I've always wanted to be, but we are not. All the things that we've never had a website, and that's like a requirement.
Right.
I probably should get a website, but I'm living in the dark ages here. But I love the Taps family so much. I have a Taps ghost tattoo on my ankle. I got it forever ago. I think I got it back in 2008 or 9, but I love them very much. And lots of respect for them.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I laughed when you said that you used to watch Most Haunted when you were a kid. Because that was like the highlight of my Friday night was watching Most Haunted, because I would count the seconds before what's her name used to scream.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, the host. Yeah. Well, that's probably why I was so in love with the UK. Well, because I also love the Spice Girls, but then Most Haunted took place in all of the really cool locations across, the UK. So I was really jealous.
That's true. Oh, it was Yvette. It was Yvette Fielding. I think she was the one. She was the big host on Most Haunted, and she used to scream all the time. And my husband used to say, "Are you watching that show again?" Like, yeah, I just can't wait for her to scream. But there were some cool things that happened on that show. So you get kind of hooked on things sometimes, right?
It's still very entertaining for me. Like, I just watched an episode the other day because we went to this haunted theater in London. Jesus. The name is escaping me. It's like Theater of Drury Lane or something like that.
Nice.
Super, super haunted theater. And we watched the Most Haunted episode on it. And I was feeling all over. Like, I was, 7 years old or however old I was when the show came out, and watching it and just being in awe. So it still brings back the magic for me, for sure.
Well, if Pete had been here, I mean, he's from London. So if he had been here, he would have been all over that. He would have known exactly what you were referring to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
if you type in Theater Drury Lane, that might be the name of it, actually.
Probably.
But if you just type it in London, you can probably find lots of ghost stories on it. It's very interesting to read about. So
I'm just really jealous because you went to New Orleans. So like, I'm dying to go there.
I'm going back in October too. I'm spending Halloween there.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
So can't wait.
That's
So-
gonna be creepy.
Before we close down the show, do you have a bucket list place of investigating? Where would you go? Anywhere in the world.
Good question. Can I do a couple? So definitely Loch Castle, somewhere in Scotland for sure.
Yeah.
And really any castle, to be honest. I'm in love. I have this like pipe dream that I become a princess, and it's been that way ever since I was a child. So yeah, definitely any castle, because I am obsessed with castles.
Okay.
Love it.
All right. It was funny because one of the places I had always thought of, would be cool, would be like Dracula's castle, until I actually saw that it was just broken down. Like,
Oh dang! I was hoping to get there too. Is it not standing anymore?
I think from what I remember, because it was what's his name, Vlad something, or the original. Technically.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's pretty broken down. Like, there's just it's not just a pile of rubble, but I don't believe that there's really too much to actually go into. Like, it's more, yeah, which is kind of a shame, actually, because I think that would have been amazing. So cool. I mean, he is the king of Halloween decorations, after all.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you guys relate to this as much as we do, but just because you guys are from Canada, right? So in America, we don't tend to preserve any history. We just like bulldoze it all down.
Right. Yeah.
And in the UK and the rest of Europe and Asia, they tend to preserve their history really well. Probably in Africa too. I don't know. I've never gone there. But I imagine that they really, preserve their history for generations to come. And, sometimes weathering happens and the buildings will crumble. But here in the States, we just don't value history as much. And that's what I also fight for a lot with my, my book sales. And just in my book, I always am advocating for historical preservation and supporting the businesses and et cetera, because, somebody's got to do it.
Exactly.
Well, I still think with your name, like, Nicole Beauchamp, I think you should go to my hometown of Montreal, because there we actually do preserve a lot of history. There's some gorgeous historical buildings that are definitely very haunted, and you would have a great time because nobody would have a problem pronouncing your name, so it'd be all good.
That would be nice. Well, I'm pretty sure like we don't even pronounce it correctly, because when people come over here, it's like the name just gets so Americanized, and
I'm Ukrainian,
I probably don't even say it right. So
I get it. I don't even pronounce my own maiden name
correctly.
Yeah, like my maiden name, I can't even pronounce correctly. Like, you hear about 20 different versions of it, and you're like, what's the correct one? And no one has an answer. So it's
although I have heard some very unique pronunciations of my name, and I've thought before, like, why didn't I just use my first and middle name or something on my books? Because whenever I try to tell somebody, like, hey, check out my book, and they're like, well, what's your name? I'm like, just go with the title, because you're never going to be able to remember my name, because most people don't remember it. But sometimes I got to break it down for them a little bit. like beautiful, and then I always say, it's like champ, like champion, or I say but it's pronounced like shampoo.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe that'll make me a little more memorable. Who knows?
I just wanted to thank you so much for being on our show tonight. And for anyone watching, make sure that you check out Nicole on Amazon. You can pick up her books there. I did put the links in the chat. However, I'm going to give me a little bit and I will put them into the description box of these videos so that you guys will be able to just click on the link. And thank you so much for being a part of the show. This was wonderful. It was amazing meeting you.
Oh, well, so nice to meet you both as well. And sorry for my, malfunctioning brain at times, but I really appreciate you having me on. It's been wonderful. It's been a lot of fun.
Good. So great to meet you. Finally.
Yes. I can't wait till we meet actually in person, though. That'll be next.
Absolutely.
And thanks to everybody watching. Make sure that you click subscribe. I was trying to click off on that and I couldn't do it. I was like, I don't want it to go that long. I'm like trying to click on it. But make sure you guys click subscribe. Make sure you join us next week. And thanks everybody so much for watching. Take care and have an amazing week.